let's move on to the AFC West. I think this is a pretty clear cut. We know who's going to come out on top. But just for the sake of being organized about this, Kevin, who do you have at the top of the AFC West?
I had the Kansas City Chiefs. They're the Super Bowl winning team. They didn't really lose any big players. They have probably the best offense in the NFL, and they just added more weapons with the draft with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I guess the biggest question is part of their defense, but again, they added Tyrann Mathieu last year, and he emerged as a true leader and a big playmaking safety in that backfield. This is just a complete team, right? When I look at the AFC West, I think it's more interesting to look at the battle for second place between the Denver Broncos and the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm really excited to see the Denver Broncos this year. Drew Lock. Seems like John Elway finally hit the gold with Drew Lock because he's missed on quarterbacks in the past with like Paxton Lynch and Trevor Siemian. Drew Lock now has good weapons. Cortland Sutton, one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL, and then add that with Jerry Jeudy. This is potent. And then they have Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay. This is exciting offense to see. And then never forget the Broncos defense. The Broncos defense is always great. They have Vic Fangio as the head coach, and he's known to be a defensive-minded coach. And the Chargers, they also have a very complete roster, but there's questions at the quarterback position. Will Tyrod Taylor be enough? Will Justin Herbert actually live up to his potential? So, I had Broncos a second only because of that.
Geoffrey.
Come on, it's got to be the Chiefs, and if you disagree, you're a moron. They've obviously the best quarterback in the NFL in Patrick Mahomes. They didn't lose any players. They kept most of their roster, and they also added Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And he was good last year, but I feel like Clyde Edwards-Helaire is much better than him, and he might be able to add a completely new dimension to this Chiefs offense. And for second place, I see the Broncos being second place. The Chargers are a good team. They have a talented roster, but I feel like they're a year or two away from being contenders because of their quarterback primarily. I do not trust Tyrod Taylor or Justin Herbert to do much this season. And the Denver Broncos, I see them being a wild card team. John Elway finally found a quarterback, like Kevin said, Drew Lock. And he, in the last 5 games, he was actually really good. And now they added great weapons to Jerry Jeudy and Melvin Gordon. So I feel like this team with that great defense might be able to be one of the best teams in the league, maybe.
Maybe. I think you guys are also I think we need to mention the Las Vegas Raiders because this is their first year in Las Vegas, right? And when John Gruden came back to the Raiders franchise, there were a lot of moves that he made that were pretty questionable, and people were like, they better pay off in the future, right? Because John Gruden is supposed to be there and make the team instantly better for when they get to Las Vegas. And now that the fact that we're not even mentioning them in the race for this division, I think brings up some questions about John Gruden and whether his methods are correct. They have talent, but I don't see them making a case in this division this year. And that just speaks to how John Gruden might not be cut out for his job anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I was never really high on John Gruden. And now there's also so much uncertainty with their quarterback because now there are reports that John Gruden doesn't trust Derek Carr, that he wanted a quarterback in the draft. So we're going to see. Maybe Derek Carr might not be the quarterback for the whole season. Maybe he might start someone like Marcus Mariota because they paid him a lot of money to be their back quarterback. So we'll see this season what happens.
I think the Raiders are a dark horse. I think at some point last season they were 500. I think they were 4-4. They were pretty decent. And if Derek Carr even resembles even a fraction of his 2016-2017 MVP caliber season, and remember Josh Jacobs, he got robbed of Rookie of the Year, and they added Henry Ruggs. He might not have been the best receiver in the draft, but he's still a weapon, right? So they have these weapons there. Tyrell Williams, right? If the Raiders can actually utilize those weapons, if Derek Carr reemerges as a star quarterback Raiders are a true dark horse, but still nothing will get them above the Chiefs or the Broncos.
Yeah, Sam, do you have anything to add to that?
Not much other than the more reasons why the Chiefs will stay on top. They proved in the playoffs, especially against, I believe it was the Texans, who were up ahead by them by 3 scores, that Mahomes will probably be the next GOAT of the NFL pretty much, because you saw him on the sidelines. He was chill. Like most quarterbacks you see, like with others, like you see Drew every now and then. It's like you see steam fuming out of him. Whereas with him, you see nothing. He's like, okay, Reed, help me fix this. And then he did it. So there's almost no way. The one thing that I find quite odd is that I don't know why the Chargers have a weirdly nice schedule like this year. Like, overly kind. They're playing against a bunch of fresh, like, starting people starting new quarterbacks in the Dolphins, and they also play against the Bengals. So they might end up stealing a couple wins. They probably won't. They still won't challenge Chiefs, but I don't know. They still have some semblance of good play out there, just stealing wins from teams that really are still rebuilding.
Yeah, were you talking about Drew Brees there or Drew Lock when you mentioned losing his cool? Because I'm not too supportive of that point.
Yeah, I think I was referring to Brees, at least in a couple years ago. You could see he was angry, but to be fair, that was fourth quarter and he wasn't allowed on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's kind of valid. Mahomes is definitely completely composed no matter what the score is, because he can put up 50 like in his sleep. And the AFC West actually plays the entire NFC South this year, so there's definitely like a little bit of tough scheduling there for the teams in that division other than the Chiefs.